Hey everyone, welcome. I'm Pat, that Halloween movie collector, and we're back with another episode of that Halloween Kills movie book club. It's episode 3. We're doing chapters 11 through 15. So if you missed the first 2 episodes, they're here. You can go check them out. But welcome to stay as we go through the next 5 chapters until we get to the end of the book. So that'll be actually 2 more episodes after this, because I believe there's 25 chapters. So yeah, let's get started with this tonight. Tonight's just myself. Both Brett and Joe are on vacation. Maybe they'll chime in and say hello. Fun fact, Brett was in Savannah, Georgia, and he was checking out some of the Halloween Ends locations and sent some pictures to us. So we'll have a lot of cool pictures, I'm sure, for the podcast. But yeah, hang out. Let's sit tight, and we'll talk some Halloween Kills. And we'll see what differences there may or may not be in the book versus the actual film. So that's why we do these, just to see, because we're Halloween geeks. We want to see what's different. And I see our good buddy in the chat. What's up, Byron? Welcome back. Yeah, it's been a crazy few weeks. I had to keep bumping this, and I almost did have to actually work late again tonight, but I pushed it to Monday. So I'm like, nope, not pushing it off again. I'll work later on Monday. I don't do anything Monday nights. But let me get everything all set up here. The banners, where are my chapters? So we left off on chapter 10, which now refresh my memory. It's been a few weeks. Chapter 10 ended with Tivoli crashing. So it was a scene outside Mick's bar where they mistake Tivoli for Myers. And Vanessa walks out and thinks she sees him in the car and goes inside, gets Marcus and Tommy and the rest of the Scooby-Doo gang, and they all come out and mistake him for Myers, and he takes off and crashes around the corner and takes off. So that's where we left off on our last episode. Hey, Gene, how are you? What's going on? Thanks for popping in. Hope you guys are big fans of the film. I'm mixed on this film. A lot of things I do like in this film. Some I don't like. That seems to be a general consensus about this film. But without further ado, let's pick up chapter 11. So chapter 11, where are my notes? Let me get my banners up here. Chapter 11, I am calling Michael Likes Pizza, and we'll find out why. So chapter 11 picks up. They all run towards the car. Just like I said, there's nobody in the car. This is after it's turned the corner and crashed. And they see blood. They see an umbrella, which you do find out that Tivoli, I guess he likes umbrellas. He found one along the way when he left the bus. Because if you remember in the first one, he was out in the checkerboard quad where Myers was, holding that umbrella. So he did manage to find an umbrella. So they found an umbrella in there. They saw some blood, so they knew he got hurt during the crash. But they also found a bunch of boxes of pizza boxes, empty pizza boxes in the back. So Tivoli, as you'll see, managed to find a pizza delivery guy and steal a couple of pizzas because he was hungry. So that's what they're thinking. They're like, Michael Myers likes pizza? Oh, why not? Pizza, dead dogs. Why not? He's got to eat, right? So they all run towards the car. No one was in the car. They saw blood on the seats and white umbrella, pizza boxes. Pretty much just what it just said. And Tommy's talking to himself. He did a lot of talking to himself, Anthony Michael Hall, in this film. And he wasn't the problem. To me, it was just the dialogue where he's talking, I'm going to get him, hit him with the bat, nighty night, all that kind of crapola. Hey, Happy, what's up? What's going on, Happy? So, yeah, the dialogue a little cringy for Tommy Doyle. And like the film, you see Tivoli, he's across the street, he's watching from the wings, seeing what's going on, and he's wondering to himself, why are they mad at me? because he doesn't understand. If you read the novelization, he's very simple-minded, and you do delve into Tivoli's mind, and you do find out why he's in, which we'll find out eventually, not in these 5 chapters, why he was at Smith's Grove and what he actually did to get there, and his mental capacity and how he grew up. We're going to learn all that. So he's thinking like he's very simple-minded. Why are they coming after me? I didn't do anything to these people. But then he's hearing them say Michael, and then he's saying, why are they confusing me with Michael? I don't look anything like Michael, which is true. And he's wondering, like I said, he's wondering why they want to hurt him. And they had the umbrella out, and he stole the umbrella because I guess it's something that it's like comforting to him. So I guess he didn't have his umbrella now, but now he's thinking to himself, it mentions that this is where they tell you the whole exposition of how he stole the pizzas, because he obviously was hungry and he didn't get caught, fortunately. And he chose, and it says why he chose that specific car, because you got to sit there and think, how ironic is it that they're all there for the Myers, for the annual Halloween reunion, and Tivoli just happen upon that car. Well, in passing, he wanted to stop in that car because he was tired, his feet hurt, and he picked Vanessa and Marcus's car because it was blue, and blue is his favorite color. That's why he specifically chose that car. And that's what he was doing. He was actually napping when Vanessa came in and woke him, which would explain all the humidity you see on the windshield and stuff if he sleeps like me with his mouth up because I snore. And then Tiffany's thinking in his head, he's thinking about Sartain talking to him, and he's sitting there reminiscing and thinking about Sartain, how he was helping him cope with things. And this is a situation where he needs help, because now he's trying to cope with what's going on, because he's been incarcerated for a long time. And he's very simple-minded. He's thinking about his parents and how abusive his parents were. So this is where you find out his little bit of his backstory, that he had abusive parents. And he gets in a defensive rage when he sees or comes in contact with rope due to his abusive parents, because apparently he's there because he killed his parents, and he must have strangled them, because he's so when he sees any type of rope, he gets in a rage. And Dr. Sartain tried to teach him defensive rage, like how to mellow out and fight off the rage so you don't do anything to yourself or other people. What's Byron saying? I was hoping that we got more information about Dr. Sartain and Kills, maybe from Marion Chambers or the escaped mental patient. Yeah, there would have been a little bit more backstory on Sartain. It would have been nice. You really don't know too much. I mean, aside from what they say, which is he was a student of Dr. Loomis, that he lobbied the institution to take over when Loomis passed. But yeah, you don't really find. Maybe it would have been good to study a little bit more about his character and find out at what point the disconnect in his mind went from being, someone who practices medicine to help people to somebody who is obsessed with this killer, and what drives him, and what pleasure he derives from killing. Why all of a sudden a switch just went in his head. That would have been good to get a little bit of a backstory on Sartain. And I liked the Sartain character when he was introduced in 2018, until he flipped the script. I was invested. I'm like, he could have been a new Loomis. He could have been out to save the world. He had the right look. He had an accent, albeit it's a Turkish accent. It's not an English accent, but he carried himself very well. Seemed very educated, just like Loomis. Talked more fancy talk. I think he would have made a good Loomis. I didn't see the need for the twist. I understand the vehicle to bring the two together. That was the way to tie in why Myers would go after Laurie, but they could have came up with something else. I'm sure we could have figured something out. Us Halloween fans could have came up with something. Let's see. Oh, that's why. So, because I'm trying to remember where he saw the rope, but that's why I make notes, because I don't remember things. So he got in a rage when he saw her enter the car. She startled him, and the way her hair was, it was like braided, like rope. So he saw her hair, and that's what took him right back to rope, and started to send him into that rage. And Sartain told Tivoli, "You will never be okay." He basically told him, "I've tried, and this is where you'll always be." And he's just wondering, and he was sitting there thinking again, like, why are they calling me Michael? I don't look like Michael, and why do they want to hurt me? And why are they after Michael? But he's smart enough to realize, he got hurt. He was bleeding. His head hurt. His feet hurt. So he's thinking, okay, well, I'm basically in a hospital. I should find a hospital because he needed help because he was hurt. His head hurt real bad, and he was bleeding. And that's where he ends up going when he finds Haddonfield Memorial Hospital. So then we flash back to the hospital, and there's Allison still holding the knife at the hospital. And then this is the nurse comes and tells Karen that Lori pulled through. She should be okay. You can go see her. Allison is thinking about all of the events that happened that led up to this moment. Everything that happened with Cameron. Well, how he lost so many of her friends in one night. She lost Vicky. She lost Dave, Oscar, which you can call a friend who was kind of a creeper, but still, that's the one she saw dead. She didn't see Vicky and Dave. She saw Oscar's demise. What's Byron saying? If Dr. Sartain was still alive, I was wondering if he could have helped Lance Tivoli. Well, that was it, because it doesn't make mention that Tivoli's thinking in his head, I guess, to the sessions they must have had where he was saying, like, Tivoli, I don't think you're ever going to get any better. He basically was telling him, like, I can help you, basically, I guess, stay grounded, to stay the way he is, where he's there. They'll feed him, they'll clothe him, and he won't hurt anybody if he stays here. But I guess he just realized, so like Loomis realized at some point, there was no rehabilitating Michael. And Michael it's just a matter of keeping him locked up, right? Like what the hell was it? The Malcolm McDowell line from Halloween. Your job was to keep the monkey locked up until the monkey died of old age. Sort of the same thing he told Tivoli, like, you're not going to get any better. So you can just stay here, live out your life, so they don't have to worry about him hurting anybody else. So let's see. And then Allison sees them Whelan and Hawkins, and she was thinking to herself, oh my God, what happened to, there's Officer Hawkins, he survived. Because at this point she didn't know, because obviously what did she witness? She witnessed him getting stabbed in the neck and attacked by Sartain. So, she was surprised to see him, and I guess happy, because he was obviously still alive for the moment. And we know he survives. See, and Allison Barker and Detective Graham take Allison and Karen to separate rooms to question them. That's how you see, which you don't see in the film, but you do see them in separate rooms. They're questioning them separately. And Allison tells Michael, that's when Allison tells the whole exposition of what happened. Tells the one detective that it wasn't Michael. Michael wasn't after my grandmother. He didn't cause all this. It was the doctor. It was his obsession with Michael and Lori, and he brought them together. And then Karen's telling, and then there's a little bit more here, sort of like you got in in 2018 when Karen is talking to Allison about her upbringing, and then you flash back to her growing up in the house with Lori, and she's setting up all the traps and all this shit, and the doors that close. So she's sitting here telling Barker about her upbringing and what it was like, with Lori, and how it all prepared for this, so to speak. Let's see. What's Byron saying? Do you to film flashbacks? That's really dark. Do you think they? I think that's what you go. Do you think they got to film flashbacks with Lance Tivoli and Dr. Sartain together while filming Halloween Kills? That would have been. It would have been kind of cool. That this is where the anthology would come in handy. I know that we've talked about the new TV series, which of course I'll watch. I'm not going to argue that. Where they could have really did something where they could have did backstories. Maybe picked sort of like American Horror Story does, where each season's a little bit different, and they pick up on a different theme. Here, if this new Halloween series, they could have just picked up where each season could be a backstory on somebody. Let's get a backstory on Dr. Loomis. In the original novelization, he had a wife and he had a kid. Even some of the unmade scripts had his son coming and taking his place. If you guys have read Taking Shape, from script to script, from whatever it's called, and that's where all the unused scripts are. So they could have easily did all these different things with an anthology, and they can sit there and argue, is it really viable? Halloween Geeks would chew it all up. Put it on Peacock, we'll be all over that shit. But yeah, a backstory where he's sitting with Tivoli would have been kind of cool. And I would like to, like I said, I would love a backstory on Sartain, even in one of these anthologies. Why not? I figured that. Believe me, I usually type and I have to always go back and correct my typing. Believe me. Taking the wife to dinner. Hope everybody. Oh, good, nice, Ryan. Have a good dinner, man. No podcast Sunday because you were hanging out with us the other night because it's Easter, but we're trying to put something together for Saturday night podcast and just hang out and just chat. Maybe the same group, but well, not the same group. Maybe just me, Colin, and Bill because Brett and Joe are on vacation. But let's see, where did I leave off? Okay, Allison tells Michael's doctor. Karen tells Barker about her upbringing. And then, of course, Karen talks about Ray, and she talks a little bit about, her husband and how, she was upset, which you don't really see in the first one. You see at the end, that was everybody's big gripe. Like, she just lost her husband, and it doesn't even seem to be faced. But, you could chalk it up to shock of everything that just went on. And of course, they do make mention of it in part 2. Well, not part 2, in Kills. Then, of course, she's saying, well, we killed him. He can't hurt anybody else. And then this is where Barker says, well, I guess you haven't heard. Michael Myers is still alive. And there you go. That is how chapter 11 ends. With that, Michael Myers is still alive. And we'll go to chapter 12. So chapter 12, I'm calling... Where is it here? So chapter 12, I'm calling... He's not after Laurie, right? Like we were just talking about. So Allison, bursts out of the room after finding out Michael's still alive. Allison starts to walk outside to gain her composure, and that's where she runs into Cameron. And a little different than the film. Well, she was kind of running towards the front of the hospital to get out and get to clear her thoughts like in the film, but in the film she runs right into him. And that's where she reunites with Cameron. Let's see. Cameron apologizes and offers to help, says, I'm sorry, just like in the film. Allison tells Cameron Michael killed Oscar, Vicky, Dave, and her father, which he did not know about. And what's going on? Hey, Lee, you up tonight? What's up, man? What's going on? I know it's late over there. Thanks for popping in. Cameron tells Allison that he was the one that found Hawkins, and she tells him, what happened, that she was there and she saw that stuff. But he found Hawkins, called the police, called his father, called the police, and that's why he was actually at the hospital, because he asked his father, Lonnie, to take him to the hospital. He wanted to see how he was doing because he was concerned since he found him. And then, of course, he says that Lonnie and his father and Tommy are going to hunt down Myers, and Allison says she wants in. So Karen's yelling at the police that they need protection, that Michael was coming there for Laurie, and Karen yells at Allison saying she's not going. Basically, a lot of the same dialogue and same stuff, where Karen still doesn't understand that it's not about Laurie. So she's under the impression that he's coming there to get to finish what he started, and it's not true. And they're screaming like, we need protection. He's got to come here. Allison, thinking about Karen's outburst and ranting, sounded like she was like thinking to herself, oh my God, this sounds just like my mother now. She's turned almost like she's assumed the role of how Laurie was all these years, ranting and raving about Myers coming to get them. And Karen's pleading that he was coming there for them. She wanted to tell Karen there's no such thing. He's not there. But she didn't even get a chance to get it out there. And they see injured bodies, people walking in, and like there's a lot going on there, people moving in and out of the ER. And Karen yells at Allison to go into Laurie's room. And just like in the film, she's like, no, you're not going anywhere. Go sit with your grandmother now. Let's see. Where did I just leave off? I just lost my place. And this is where Allison still has the knife, and she's right before she's ready to tuck it under her pillow. Barker tells them to wait in the waiting room. Allison is wondering how Laurie will react to Michael being alive, because as you see in the film, when she does wake up, because she hasn't woken up yet from the anesthesia, she's sitting there talking to Karen, and Karen didn't tell her. Remember, Karen specifically didn't tell her. She finds out when Tommy comes in, and she's like, "Oh, we did it, baby. We killed him." And of course, she's like, "Yeah, because she doesn't want to upset her." And that is how. Wow, that was a quick chapter. Chapter 12 ends. Look at that. Wesley God Kills is definitely in my top 4. Michael is my only thing is I've watched this more and more, and I've enjoyed. I mean, of course, the flashback. It's my favorite part of the trilogy. I wanted to stay there. When they took us back to 78, I'm like, holy shit, let's stay here for an hour, for 90 minutes, please. But yeah, the only thing that kills me is the whole hospital stuff. Like later on in the film, where they go after Tivoli, it's totally unrealistic and it's unnecessary. And if I hear Evil Dies Tonight, I'll just kill myself. But the rest of the film's not bad. I don't mind the rest of the film. Flashback, good. Both flashbacks are really good. The beginning of it's really good. The ending of it is not bad either. The beatdown and how he comes back and kills everybody. The only other gripe is the legacy characters are basically just there for fodder. I think they could have developed their characters a little bit more rather than just having them there for nostalgia and just basically unceremoniously killing them off. But that's just my opinion. That is the end of chapter 12. So chapter 13, I'm calling Tommy's Posse. Right? We know where this is going. So chapter 13 starts out with Tommy meets up with Lonnie in the parking lot, just like in the film. Lonnie tells Tommy that Laurie is here, and that she just came out of surgery. She seems to be okay. And Tommy tells Lonnie about the first responders, all the dead firefighters, and he's like, "Holy shit!" Just like the film. And then, of course, they plan to take their talking, just like in the film. They plan to take Michael down. He's got that arsenal of weapons that's in the back of his car. Lonnie wanted to be, and he's doing this because he's thinking to himself, "I want to be remembered for something good." He's like, because everybody thinks I'm a joke. Everybody thinks he's an idiot or he was a bully growing up. He'd like to be remembered for something worthwhile, like, hey, one of the guys that helped take Michael Myers down. Sort of redeem himself and look good in front of his son. So Lonnie shows him all his guns. So this is the part that's different. I don't understand why it's changed. So I know with the car, a white Elantra pulls up, and it's not an SUV. So in the book, it's a white Elantra, and that's Lindsay's car. Like in the movie, it's an SUV where she pulls up with Marion and Marcus and Vanessa, and they say, "I want to help." For some strange reason, it's an SUV in the movie, but in the book, it's a white Elantra. I have no idea why. Sometimes there's always subtle differences in novelizations, and you just scratch your head like, what was the purpose of that change? And they say how the doctor and nurse were switched roles for their costumes, and Allison joins them after sneaking out of the hospital, right? Like when she tucks away the knife, kisses grandmother, sneaks out. We already know that. So they split up into 3. Tommy goes off to form the what do you call it? The Doyle posse. He goes to recruit people, and Lonnie, Cameron, and Allison go off in his car, which he had an SUV. He had an SUV or a truck, if I remember correctly, and it was an SUV, I think. But in here, it's something different. We'll get to what it is. Why they changed the cars, I have no freaking clue. And of course, in the white Elantra is Lindsay, Marion, Marcus, and Vanessa. What's going on? Yeah, exactly. Gene likes Kills. Yeah, Kills is not bad. If someone could trim the hospital scene with the Evil Dies Tonight chants from that film, that would be fantastic, because it felt like it's true. It was just really, it was taxing, on my nerves. think Roy Dam on Facebook does bootleg DVD with all that shit. Oh yeah, he does. That's the guy that does all those special cuts. Truth be told, you can do it yourself with software. That's why I never bought them. I could just do it myself and edit them together. I just never bothered. I usually just hit the chapter button and just go through that part. Believe it or not. So Tommy pulls up to a convenience store and starts to recruit, just like in the film. He's talking to people, where he's trying to recruit people, and a lot of people do join in, as we do see. And they do make note that he sees an advertisement at the convenience store for Big John and Little John Realty, which we're not going to get that far. That's going to be in the next 5 chapters. Big John, Little John, which to me was one of the highlights of the film. I love that whole sequence in the Myers house. I thought it was a lot of fun. Tommy explains he confronted Myers earlier, but he escaped to the people, and the group agreed to help. Some of the people that he stopped and saw at the convenience store said they would come and help. Maybe it was the lady with the iron. Lonnie was driving. Okay, so that's it. So he had an SUV in the book, but here he's driving an Altima, a Nissan Altima. Why did he change the cars? I have no freaking clue. So Allison's yelling from the car to the people outside to go inside and lock your doors, like you see in the film. Remember they're driving by, she's saying, go inside, it's not safe. Get inside, lock your doors. And Cameron is apologizing to Lonnie because for not believing him all those years. He kind of thought that was making a lot of this shit up, to sell books. Because if you know, Lonnie wrote books on this and paranormal shit and the whole Myers experience. And I guess for years he kind of thought Dad was exaggerating, but now, he wanted to apologize because he's like, now I believe you. So they have a little father-son moment. Then you have Lindsay and crew driving around, and it makes note that the smoking nurse Marion's puffing away, and it's annoying the shit out of Vanessa with the smoke. And then this is a little speech where Nurse Marion, basically the same thing she says in the film, where she's talking about they should have listened to him. Dr. Loomis was right. He knew a killer when he saw one, and he saw one in Myers, but nobody wanted to listen. And they stop at the park, just like in the film, because they see the kids, and they're like, what's going on? Why are these kids out? There's 3, there's 2 kids. Well, remember, there's 2 kids. And they're sitting there, and he's just like, well, why are these kids out? You should be home. It's not safe to be outside. So Lindsay approaches the kids and said, it's not safe out here, just like in the film. She asks if they saw a man in a white mask, and they say yes. They have been playing hide and seek with him, just like the film. And she asks if they saw. Oh, reading my same notes. The one girl says, "There." Of course, she's like in the film. She says, "Oh, and there he is," and there's hi, and that's when she turns and she sees Michael, and sees the mask, and he's holding the silver shamrock skull, dripping with blood because their third friend, he's since killed. Let's see. She spins around, sees Michael by her mantra. Where did I just leave off? Lindsay spins around to see Michael by her Elantra, knife, and skull, mask dripping with blood, and Lindsay flashes. So then she has a flashback because now she's like, holy shit, this is taking me right back to 78 when she was running from Myers in the house, and Laurie was protecting her, and now she's thinking, holy shit, I have nobody to protect me. I have to do this all myself. And she realizes she has to save herself. And that's where we leave off on chapter 13, Tommy's Posse. So let's go check the chat, see what's going on in the chat. What's with the nurse who climbs out of the window with a gun and disappears for 5 minutes? They do make mention of that in here. That's good, Lee, because I wondered that too. I'm like, all this is going on. I was like, where the hell did she go? Did she go out and take a piss? Did she go have a smoke? Where did she go? She disappeared. And all of a sudden she comes back like the guns of Navarone. Yeah, it actually addresses it. It makes more sense in the book than it does in the film. See, he was here. Hey, Greg, what's up, man? Awesome. What's going on? Thanks for checking in. He comes back and shoots herself. It's yeah, you had to laugh at that too because it was so funny. Yeah, just crazy shit. 13. We're going to chapter 14, and chapter 14 I am calling Michael in the Park, right? This is where he's in the park, and it's going to get some serious shit. So Marion tosses her cigarette out, and she's checking the gun to see if it's loaded. And Marcus is contemplating if he can handle the gun, because he's got that big gun in the back, and he's wondering if I can actually do it. And Marcus sees Myers. Michael stepped onto the trunk and then onto the roof, just like in the film. See, in the film, if I remember correctly, Marion sees him in the rear view, and then he gets on the roof. But here it says Marcus sees him. Then he takes the bloody mask and slaps the windshield, just like he does in the film. Very reminiscent of when he smashes his head on the windshield in page 4. And then Marion shoots, just like in the film. She shoots the mask and she shatters the window. So there's one bullet wasted. And then Michael smacked the driver's window, and Marion shot the window. Remember? So there's 2 shots gone, wasted. And then Marion went and locked the children's lock on the back window by accident. So now the back windows are locked, so they can't do shit. Change my page to my notes. Michael reaches in and grabs Marion by the hair and takes a big chunk out of her hair. Marcus shoots out the rear driver's window because and because the windows are locked, and he's telling it's a little bit different than the movie. He's telling Vanessa to get out because he wants his wife to go to safety. So she climbs out just like in the film. Michael jumps down. Well, then now when Lindsay's watching from the swings and finally sees all the shit that's going on, and she's thinking, shit, because what can I do to defend myself? And she sees the candy bag, empties it, and fills it full of bricks, just like the film. So Marion tries to get out of the passenger door, which is a little different than the film, but Michael grabs her and pushes her back in. And she shoots and misses him again. So that's 3 wasted shots? And then Michael stabs Marion. A little different scenario here. So then Marcus grabs his stethoscope and starts to choke Michael, just like in the film, where he's trying to save Marion. And this is a little different. Michael elbows him right in the jaw. In the film, he just stabs him right away. Here, he elbows him in the jaw and startles him for a minute. Michael pulls the knife from Marion, and then that's when he stabs him. So that actually would have been a pretty cool image, where he just fucking elbows him right in the jaw, dazes him, pulls the knife from Marion, and then sticks him in the eye. So it's just slightly different. Let's see what's going on here. Green. Oh yeah, who doesn't? You gotta have your head examined. Awesome channel, thanks, man. I haven't seen you in a bit, Greg. It's been a minute. Marion. Oh yeah, she's a smoking nurse. Yes. You should do a comparison video, Pat, showing all Easter eggs. That's a really good idea, Lee. I'm gonna write that down. That'd actually be pretty cool. The Easter eggs in the films. That's a great idea. Awesome. That was from Lee, because if I do it, I want to give you credit. Wasn't my idea. It was definitely Lee's. That's awesome. I like that idea. Best kill from the trilogy. Doc gets knife in the eye. Talk about a migraine. Yeah, that's gonna give you a headache. It was awesome too. You used to ever watch the behind the scenes where they have where you see Chris Nelson's appliance of how that's done? It's pretty cool. Let's see if stabs him in the left eye. See that. So now this is where it makes mention of that time lapse of where Vanessa goes out the window and then comes back. So so now they're flashing over to her. She fell out of the window onto the ground, and she was like stunned, like she must have hit her head. So she was a little dazed from falling out the window and running early. So she was just a little bit out of it. So she watched the events in the car from afar. Like she ran, because obviously that's what Marcus wanted her to do, just run away. But she was still in a daze from hitting her head on the ground. So she watched the events from afar. She realizes she still has the gun, and then she starts shooting at the car, just like the film. So it makes mention of that she fell, she hit her head, she was in a little bit of a daze, and she must have been walking away. And then when she got up, she realizes, her head must have cleared, and she realized she had the gun, and that's when she starts coming back. And that's when you see her shooting at the car, just like in the film. Let's see. She shoots at the car. She approaches the car and sees Myers Myers and calls for Marcus because she doesn't realize he's been stabbed yet in the eye. So she's calling to see if he's okay. Michael kicks the door out as Vanessa starts to shoot and pushes the gun back, and he doesn't even have to kill him. She killed, for all intents and purposes, she killed herself. So if you think about it, that might not make a kill list because she kind of killed herself. And I remember vividly in the theater people laughing at that. Mm-hmm. Let's see what Byron's saying. That would have been cool to see Michael giving an elbow in that film. James Giucordi would have had a field day. Yeah, it would have been great, right? If he just bash him and he gets knocked back, he's in the daze, and then you see him pull the knife from Marion and jab it right into Marcus's eye. It would have been a cool visual. I'll join in, Pat, because I've seen there's lots of Easter eggs. Yeah, there's always that's what's always cool about these, especially when the Halloween films, when they put stuff in there, it makes it like a treasure trove. You're always looking for stuff. Even the earlier films like Halloween, if you go back on this channel where I did my 67 mistakes in the original Halloween, where it's all the like not even mistakes, it's like all the little things that like are out of order, shadows, where you see things. What movie does that? Where you can look and you're always trying to find that hidden gem and find cool stuff in it. Makes it lots of fun. So that's chapter 14. These 5 chapters were probably the shortest ones of this book so far. Let's see. Let's go up to chapter 15. Chapter 15, I'm calling Lindsay Fights Michael. All right, so Michael, actually, let me take a quick sip. Wet my whistle. Needed that. So Michael gets out of the car and observes his murders, looks to see if the girls are by the swing. So now we're in Myers' head. So he steps out, and this is where the playful Myers came into play, which would have been cool to see in the film, where he gets out and he's surveying everything he just did. He's looking everything over, and he's proud of what he sees. This is great. I just killed all those people. And then what does he do? It makes note that he turns to look at the swings because he's like, wait a second, I remember there's 2 girls over there. I want to go kill them too, but they're gone. So this is where it flashes back to the Myers from the first film, like the playful Myers, sort of, because you don't really see that. I mean, you do see that in this film because you're going to see, remember, as we'll get down further when they find these bodies and he's got them all displayed. It took him back to that Myers. That's what I liked about this. They brought back the playful Myers where he would put the bodies in poses and stuff. We kind of lost a lot of that. See, so Lindsay sneaks up behind Michael and slams the bricks to the back of his head, then his face, and smashes him in the side of the head. So he's dazed a little bit. So she got a couple more whacks in the book than in the actual film. And now, Gene, awesome. Thanks for popping in, Gene. Gene's awesome. Of course, in this, the pillowcase ripped in the book, and the bricks go flying out as Michael was dazed. So Lindsay sees Vanessa's body, then walked around the car to get into the driver's seat. So this takes place differently. Now I just thought of that. So if she's walking around to get into the driver's seat, in the film, they're on the driver's side when she confronts Myers. So I guess in the book, they're on the passenger side because it makes mention she goes around the car to get into the driver's seat. So, little difference there. So So she walks around the car to get in the driver's seat and sees Marion dead and she's laying across the front seat. And Lindsay moves Marion aside and gets in the car. And it does make mention she forgets to lock the door, and Michael opens the door and pulls her right out of the car. So if she would have locked it, she would have had a fighting chance to start it and take off. Michael lifts her and starts choking her just like in the film. Lindsay hears a horn honk. Turning, she sees it's Marion. So now this is where it's a little bit different because when she gets stabbed and killed, Marion, this is what she says. This is for Dr. Loomis, which I hated that line. So here in the book, she starts to honk the horn to get Michael's attention. And Lindsay hears the horn. She turns and she sees this Marion who's barely alive. And he yet telling Michael to let Lindsay go. She's yelling. So Michael throws Lindsay to the ground and goes after Marion. That's when she lifts the gun and says, "This is for Dr. Loomis." And what happens? The gun's empty. So yeah, a little out of sequence here, which this probably would have played out kind of cool because when you would have thought Marion was dead, and all of a sudden she sits up and she get one last gasp, and no such luck. She wasted all those bullets earlier. What is? Let me see. The homages in the trilogy are like no other movies. Love them. Wonder if other people know about them. Would love to see their faces when you tell them that's from '78. That's from H2. Well, the hardcore people should pick it up. Not read David's novels, but I've heard he's a fan. Yeah, David's novels. Which novels? I'm assuming these novels you're referring to, right? So then Lindsay takes off. Oh no, but this is I almost forgot about this part. So this would have been a cool visual too. So Michael slams Marion's head over and over again, honking the horn because he already stabbed her once. So he doesn't go and stab her again. He just bashes her head into the steering wheel. Then Michael jams Marion's head into the steering wheel and starts turning it, crunching her skull. That would have been kind of cool, right? So Marion gets it a lot worse in the novelization. So Lindsay takes off while Michael is doing this, and Michael follows pursuit just like in the film. So now she's thinking in her head, she's flashing back to that night in '78 again, and she's thinking how there's nobody here to protect her this time. She's on her own because Laurie's not here to protect her, and Lindsay's hearing a teenage Laurie in her head yelling, "Run, run, lock the door," just like everything from '78. So she remembers the bridge, thinking she could hide under the bridge like her son Evan. This is where you hear the first mention that she had this. Well, actually, no. Back in one of the other chapters, they made mention that she had a son who didn't live with her. His name was Evan. So apparently this was a park that she must have took Evan to, and he used to like to hide under the bridge. So she remembers the bridge is there, and she's thinking she could hide under it. So she hides under the bridge as Michael walks overhead. Slightly different than the film because she's sort of like on the bank of that water there, hiding behind that tree. Michael turns and heads. Now this is where it makes sense, and I'll tell you why, as opposed to the film. So yeah, she hides under the bridge. Michael walks overhead. Then Michael turns and heads back towards the car. Then then says Lindsay is shot from everything just happened, and she just passes out and underneath the bridge. And that's how the chapter ends. But take notice of this. Now in the film, if you remember, when Lindsay's hiding by the tree and Michael doesn't see her and he starts walking over the bridge, he walks across that bridge and keeps walking away from the car. But then later, when Tommy and Lonnie and Cameron and Allison show up, he staged all those bodies. Remember, around the one thing that spun around in the park. I forget the name of it. I remember we used to play it as kids. And he hung Marion up from the swings. So in the film, if he walked away, how did he go back and do that? That's the thing that was bothering me. I'm like, well, when did he go back and do this? You see him clearly walk over that bridge away from the scene. And here it makes note that he turns around and heads the other direction back to the car, which would have made more sense. All right. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, he's talking about the novels. Okay. Just one. I thought so. Wish we got that Marion death scene on the. Yeah, that would have been cool. I don't know if they filmed it. I'm trying to remember the Blu-ray deleted scenes. I got to go back and I watched the deleted scenes when I first got the DVDs. So truth be told, I don't remember all of the deleted ones in the trilogy. I should go back and watch them. I was still waiting for the original ending of 2018, which I guess they're just going to keep rehashing until they finally give it to us. But yeah, that would have been cool. Much more brutal death. Sorry, man, Tim. Lots of lovely. Right? Hey, I'm right there with you. I'm having my Sawkill Stout peanut butter stout beer right here. Yeah, it's 1 a.m. by you. Yep, it's 10 to 9 p.m. here. Roundabout. What do you mean? Like he turned like maybe it's a roundabout. I guess so. Maybe, depending on the way that if that bridge goes to the other side, and maybe he could roundabout to it. All right, I'll that makes sense. But on face value, when you saw it, like even it wasn't just me. I remember who did I see kills with? Was it my son? I think it was my son, and he said the same thing later on because my son, though he observes everything and sees, picks everything out, nitpicks everything, and said, "Well, he walked away. When did he go back and stage everything?" But well, yeah, maybe if that bridge just went over to this little creek, the kids' plaything. Yeah, like that roundabout. That's what. Now I gotcha. But actually, what I was thinking you were mentioning also made sense too. Like if the bridge went over that creek and maybe there was a path back to the parking lot. But the roundabout, that's what they call it. Yeah, those things, man, those things were friggin' man, I remember, I don't know how I didn't break in a limb or a bone or lose a tooth. We used to spin those things around like a son of a bitch and try to push everybody off when we were kids. I don't even think you see them in playgrounds because I think so many people got hurt. And that's how we'll leave in chapter 15 before we come back in 2 weeks and do chapters 16 through 20. Lindsay passes out under the bridge, and we know eventually they'll find her when they come and discover the bodies, which should be within the next 5 chapters. Get rid of this banner, and we'll hang out and chat a little bit. Lee says, and what's with Lindsay's injuries? How did that happen? Lindsay's I guess because he choked her. He threw her to the ground. So I guess that's pretty much all the injuries she had. Because remember he was choking the shit out of her, and it makes mention that he threw her to the ground after Marion started honking the horn, because you do see her eventually come in on a wheelchair to the hospital, and later on in the film. But yeah, that was a lot of stuff in those 5 chapters. Those chapters they were very fast chapters, but there was a lot jam packed in it from the film. So I'm curious myself to see how the hospital stuff plays out. I already, because I did the Audible version. I have the novelization, of course, because I'm a collector and I have to buy every version of everything. Here's the novelization. Truth be told, I've never read it because I do the Audible version because I listen to it when I'm back and forth to work or I'm around the house. So I did it when it first came out, and I'm trying to remember all the hospital stuff, if I hated it less in the book or not. So I guess we're going to find out when we get to the hospital part, because the hospital part, like I said, when we mentioned earlier, I'm not a big fan of all the hospital shit. And I'm trying to remember if it was better in the book. So we'll find out together, because it's been, you figure, how many years now? 4 years. So we'll see how it is when it comes out. I wish we got a shape stalks during Lindsay's chase scene after the track rampage went off. Yeah, I remember the score. It wasn't too bad, but yeah, that would have probably went over better. And what's everybody's favorite one in here? Anybody in the chat? What's your favorite? I still think out of the trilogy, as much as Ends was very divisive, it's got a great soundtrack. But I think The Shape Hunts Allison out of all 3 are still my favorite. And I wish we got a little bit longer sequence with that. That would have been really good, because it was kind of a real quick sequence. Love John's soundtrack on the trilogy. Oh, yeah. Took the words right out of my mouth. Yep. Yeah, all 3 are just great. And I'm curious to see if he gets involved in the music for the television show, because we know he doesn't want to do anything. He could just phone it in, just like he did the End soundtrack. So it'd be great to see him get involved, because all 3 of them are just great. So, and I think he still got it in him. Would be so good. The Shape Hunts Allison and Unkillable. That's another good one. Yep. Yeah, I remember when they announced him coming back. It was hold on one second. It's cold in my basement. I gotta put my heater on. It was one of those situations when they said John Carpenter was getting involved in 2018. I was super excited, and then when they said he was doing the music, I was even more excited. But I was also very nervous, because we held him to such a high pedestal, because what he did was unbelievable. The music was unbelievable. What if he came back and it was subpar? It wasn't good. You always wonder, like it's like a classic band that gets back together and decides to do something. You always leery, like, maybe you should have left it there and just left on a high note. You're a little leery about what's going to happen. But man, he proved me wrong because all three soundtracks are just great, just absolutely amazing. Soundtrack on TV, especially set 63 and 78 again. Yeah. Oh, just some good stuff. Take a sip. Yeah, but that's the 5 chapters for tonight, guys. And hopefully I'll stay on schedule, that things won't screw it up. Because the best night of the week for me to do this is Thursday nights, and it tends to be the night I get stuck working late, and I almost did. And I pushed it off to Monday. So hopefully in 2 weeks we'll come back and we can do chapters 16 through 20. And then after that is 21 to 25, and then we'll pick up and do Halloween Ends. And I've mentioned to those, maybe you guys in the chat haven't read it yet, but Halloween Ends, I mean, I don't care which side of the fence you land on, the divisive side of Halloween Ends, those that like it, those that despise it. The novelization is much better than the movie, rather. There's so much backstory and so much more Myers and Ends that they really should have put on screen. So that's going to be a lot of fun to do that. And it's really big. It's a real good read. I think if I remember correctly, I think it's the thickest of the 3 out of the trilogy. There's a lot in there. But yeah, we'll do that 2 weeks. Oh, well, that'd be right after everything else. It's Good Friday tomorrow. It's a day off. So I thought I was off tomorrow, and I was in for Rude Awakening when I found out today that we weren't off. I was pissed. I'm like, oh shit, I thought we were off. And I would just take off, but I got a lot of shit to do. Yeah, I was my neighbor. Shout out to my neighbor Mike. We were gonna hang out, have a couple of beers tonight after I did this. He's like, "Oh, you off?" I'm like, "No, I got to go to work tomorrow." Ugh. Yeah, if I didn't have a lot of shit to do, I would have just took the day. But if those that are off, enjoy your Good Friday. Enjoy. Everybody have a good Easter weekend. If you celebrate Easter, have a great weekend. It's just a little odd that it's always weird when Easter comes this early. When it actually lands in March, because it's usually in April, so it's definitely a little bit early. But it'll be I hope everyone has a great weekend. But yeah, I'm gonna head out, and we'll meet in 2 weeks for this. Keep an eye on the channel for those that like to hang out for the podcast, because I think we're going to do something either tomorrow night or Saturday night. So just keep an eye on the channel. And if anything, it's just going to be an impromptu hangout, have a couple of drinks. If it's just Bill and Colin, we're probably just going to have a couple of drinks and just shoot the shit, talk about some horror stuff, and hopefully get some good people in the chat and see where we go from there. Because there's no regular one for Sunday, and both of my co-hosts are away. So we'll be back to the typical podcast probably next weekend. And a watch along. We have to figure out, what are we going to watch this Tuesday? Because we were doing the Friday the 13th. So we did Friday the 13th part 3 on Tuesday. Chronologically, we should do part 4, but I think we're going to skip part 4 and save it for the 40th anniversary, because this is the 40th anniversary, and rather do it closer to the anniversary. So we'll see. But yeah, I think I'll head out. Yeah, have a good one, Lee. Thanks for popping in. Enjoy the weekend. Enjoy your day off tomorrow. Well, it's already tomorrow for you. So enjoy the rest of the night. Have a couple of beers. I'm going to have my beer. Byron, thanks for hanging out. Gene for popping in. Ryan for popping in. Appreciate everybody. Make sure you like, subscribe, hit that like button. I always forget to tell people, hit that damn like button, because I can't even speak right tonight. Hit that like button. It does help. Hey, Lee. So thank you, buddy. Enjoy your night. You can hang out and not have to get up early tomorrow for work. Let me get my stuff all set up here. So everybody have a good weekend. If you celebrate Easter, have a great Easter. Keep an eye on the channel, because we're going to pop up in the next night or two, hopefully, to do something fun and just hang out with everybody in the chat. And we're going to go from there. And 2 weeks, we'll be back with our next 5 chapters. God willing, I don't get stuck working. So where's my little outro here? So everybody have a good night. I'll talk to you soon.